All right, time being 7 o'clock, I will call the Common Council meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Schrader.
Here.
Mrs. Schatzinger.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Gallops.
Here.
Mrs. Kane. Mr. Gatsky.
Here.
Mr. Wirch.
Here.
Mr. Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to read from Psalm 127, first verse. Unless the Lord builds the house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects the city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. As we are celebrating Thanksgiving this week, I would like to read from Psalm 100. Shout for joy to the Lord as the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter the gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues throughout all generations. Lord, bless this city. Amen. Amen.
All right, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved by David, seconded by John Split. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. We have one person here for public comment. This is the opportunity for citizens to come before the council with comments and concerns on any current city issue, knowing no action will be taken tonight. I ask that you keep it civil and respectful and within 5 minutes. However, discussion of personnel or of individual members of the Common Council shall not be permitted. I expect you to be respectful, and in return, I expect the council to treat the citizen with the same respect. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the record. Ryan?
Well, Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Could you state your name and address?
Oh, yeah, my apologies. I'm sorry, sir. Ryan Huser, 655 Emerson Avenue.
Thank you.
On Friday morning, on 2 separate occasions, I found water in my basement. And after having an emergency plumber come out and snake my drain, found that I might have had a big issue on my hand. What ended up happening is the 8-inch main in front of my house was clogged. And anytime any of my neighbors would shower, flush a toilet, wash their hands, or do their laundry, all the wastewater would end up in my basement. I am here tonight to give my gratitude and appreciation to the wastewater department. I know you said we weren't supposed to mention names, but some of these employees did fantastic work, and I'm going to do it anyways, and you can have security rough me up on the way out, that's fine. My wife is a personal friend of Jeremy Jess, and she began to contact him, likely while he was in the woods deer hunting on opening Saturday, and he was able to guide her through the process as into who she should call, who she should talk to, what she has to say to get somebody out. Within about a half an hour of her initial conversation with him. We had a gentleman, I didn't catch his last name, but his name was Dana, who works for the city. He came out and immediately started undoing manhole covers and found that one of the city main drains was blocked and clogged. And sure enough, I was getting water in my basement. He also went above and beyond. He contacted the jet truck to come out. Actually had to contact 2 different jet trucks to come out because one of the services after 2 hours was unresponsive to his phone call. So he contacted a second one and actually went door to door in my neighborhood to ask our neighbors to politely refrain from utilizing any water for several hours. So I appreciate the city's response, and I appreciate the gentleman who helped me from wastewater. Because my pregnant wife was not happy having to squeegee wastewater out of our basement. So on behalf of me and my family, thank you so much to the city of Ripon and wastewater.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, we will move right into our action item. We only have one this evening. This is an amendment to the professional services agreement with MSA for the Trailhead Extension Service. Adam, do you want to summarize this?
Yeah, so in your packet, you have an amendment to an already acted upon professional service agreement with MSA. The first time we acted upon this was to basically design and get everything ready for the construction of the senior center and the Trailhead facility. At the time, we did not. You can see in Exhibit A here, there are highlighted or outlined sections that were not optioned at that time. They included the $21,000 in lump sum for trail extension work. So as we've progressed through the project, we had a meeting today to review kind of the design of the facility, but the next step of that also is, do we bring a trail to it? Obviously, we did not get stewardship funding. I believe there may have been an email in your packets as well. And the county board of supervisors authorized and put in their budget $100,000 for the Trailhead project. So we're at the point where we have done some limited survey work to complete that portion of the project. But the design work has not been acted upon yet, and we're asking that get acted upon tonight so we can push that forward because the county will be funding a portion of this project as well, and to bid it out, to get it all put together by our timeline, they need to start working on this pretty quickly. So for reference, this primarily is the extension of the Mascoutin Valley across kind of the northern city limit from Eureka down to the Trailhead facility, which is the building, as well as then developing a path through the park to connect to, I believe it's Layton Street, over to connect through that property. So designing that as the primary plan. And then as we bid it out, we'll bid those kind of alternatively. So obviously there's budgets, there's things that have to be put in place here. So we will kind of phase that work in within our budget and scope. But to keep this moving and to receive the $100,000 from the county for the project, we have to plan it out and get that part of it done. In addition to that, we did apply for a significant grant the week before, totaling $1.2 million to do this project. So continuing to plan this out with the hopes that we get that as well possibly is incredibly important to keep this on a timeline to build in 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
David?
Question on the, so we're looking at about 215,000 for this particular part of the project. So the 21,000 is going to be to do the design and build, and then we'll just like cut it in half and do what we can do, and then for future, be able to have that information to keep going. Is that what we're looking at here?
Pretty much, yes. So we kind of talked about it today, how the primary trail extension is from Eureka over. That's A, okay? Get that done. That's a big win. B would be Senior Center Trailhead over across to Layton to connect it over. So we would bid that as like bid alternate A and bid alternate B. And then if it comes in and it's priced well, we can do it. The other side of this is just as they design it, we need to start speccing out whether we pave it. If we pave it, obviously it's going to be more expensive. And we may bid alternate that as well. I mean, we don't want to bid alternate the project to death, but at the same time, you know, we also don't want to reject a bid for something that we want to still do. We just may not be able to totally afford it if the bid comes in too high. So those are the things we have to kind of get to. Right now, it's just sort of, you know, on paper and as a concept, but actually getting the field work done, speccing it out, that's where we need to get, and ultimately then putting it in the bid documents in the appropriate fashion to make sure, you know, and then if we don't do it, we can always revisit it later and reuse it, so.
Thanks.
Julian?
You had stated that you thought that we might have an email in our packets. We do indeed, and I think it's worth pointing out that our county board representatives, Marty Farrell and Gary Will, were also very supportive of this project, and so that's great to see. A quick question, it says here for optional services, it was just mentioned the 21,000, it says if directed by owner. So are we the owner as a city, and so we are directing that right now? And then maybe just for clarification for my sake, what exactly is the motion on the table?
To approve the amendment for the professional services agreement for the trail extension. So basically, as you see here, there's a document. So it's approving the additional work to be completed by MSA that's sort of highlighted in these boxes here for the trail work. So basically, what they'll be doing is designing it out. They'll be formally putting together everything, you know, beyond a concept.
The 21,000, correct?
Yep.
That's what they're acting on this evening.
Got it.
Okay.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of amending, in favor of the amendment to the professional services agreement with MSA for trail extension services, say aye. Aye. Opposed? As approved.
So just take one question too. We met today. We're on schedule to release bids toward the end of December into January. Does the council want a report back on the final design prior to going to bid and authorizing it to go out to bid? That is a question that was raised today. I don't know what's been done in the past. Certainly, from the concept and the overall scope of the project, it's very similar to what we have discussed before, but at the same time, before we take the plunge and move forward completely, MSA, we met today, they're more than welcome to come in with, you know, a final, like, here's 85-90% of the plan that's designed, that's got, you know, HVAC and lighting and landscaping and everything done. If you would like to see that, we can schedule that for December. Is that good? Do
You're
that?
saying that's
think
at
that
no
would be
extra
good.
cost? Sorry.
Yep.
I'd
Okay,
like to see that.
okay, yep. So we'll bring them in.
But you just said it's at no extra cost to us, correct?
No, it's just, no, it isn't. No, it's, I think,
It'd be part of the
it was
report.
part of the final report back. It's just, don't be, when you see it and you say nothing's changed. it looks the same, it's just there's a lot of, layers of plan, so. Very good, that's it.
All right, moving into discussion items. First one here is the housing market analysis and needs assessment study and proposals. Adam.
So in your packets, you had two proposals, one from Mogenberg Research and the other from Vierbicker. I also did hand out this report this evening. It's probably the first time I think you've seen it. If not, I might have given it out a while ago, but the date was June. So we did have an opportunity, and this kind of has led to this point to be in front of you tonight, to work with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and the Congress for New Urbanism to talk about the missing middle housing study, kind of looking at some strategies and some holes in our current codes and restrictions for housing. So that report kind of sort of is in your, you can look at it. That was kind of the start of this whole conversation, okay? So a part of the overall housing strategy for the city in the past obviously has been a couple of housing programs. We have some very successful ones with the Build Ripon, where there's been grants given out. There have been, there's the other programs with CDBG and the Renew Ripon program to assist with rehabilitation of housing. And there's about $180,000 or so still left over from a TIF extension a couple years ago that's just sitting there, okay? Waiting to be used on top of TIF 4 is closing out. And we anticipate $300-some thousand, I would guess, around that, to come in for housing. It's the same thing, affordable housing extension. So to develop housing for low income, for non-low income, so it's a very flexible pool of money. So taking a step back and looking at the overall strategy, in my mind there are a couple phases. The one here that that on CNUs is kind of the regulation side. From my standpoint, taking a step back and looking at where we currently are is important. So I did reach out to consultants to look at putting together a housing market analysis and needs assessment. And the goal there is to study the current housing climate in the city of Ripon for a single family, for multifamily, for senior, kind of a comprehensive review of what's needed, what's missing, what can be sustained for the future, to then use to craft programs to fit where we're sort of lacking, to try to recruit and show to developers that there is a need, and also begin then developing greater strategies potentially for our comprehensive housing needs. This is a hot topic, obviously, in the state. Our county has not taken the steps to do similar work. So this will be specific to Ripon and the kind of the region. You can look at both proposals. Mogenberg is, I believe, out of the Milwaukee area. They're kind of a more, I would say, real estate and appraisal driven company, whereas Vierbecker is really a more planning company. And so you can kind of see what both of them are looking at doing. The goal, if approved, if this is something we want to pursue, is to work with these individuals and put together a report to come back and talk about, as well as then develop programs and changes to meet this current problem in our community. Housing, obviously, big challenge. We haven't built market rate housing for a very long time. So that's kind of all of it in a nutshell, why it's here. I've been working on this since June or before, so it's finally here with the time that I've had. It's kind of finally been brought back in the front of my mind. So there are two proposals. It's totally up to you where you want to take it.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation, Adam, between the two proposals?
I have worked with Veerbecker on a very similar project in my previous community. It put together, I could pull it up, but it was about 100-page plus report on housing. And part of it was a market analysis, and it told us exactly what we needed. And we were able to take it to developers, and we built something based off of that study alone. I'm not saying that that could happen here, but I think that they did a thorough job, and they are doing this in a lot of communities, and I'm comfortable working with them. Mogenberg, they've had similar successes, but I have not worked with them.
Thank you. Oh, one other question. The $8,500 would be for Vergber. Is that a 2022 expenditure?
So this would be likely billed in 2022,
Okay.
and it's $7,500 for Veerbecker, $8,500 for Mogenberg. The $7,500, if it were to be expensed this year, that $180,000 that I talked about, that's sitting there in the city's account for housing, this is an eligible expense for that. So we have the money sitting aside. It could be a 2022 expense. It doesn't have to be, but yeah.
Thank you.
Jim?
With the additional expenses, were any of those from your previous experience? Do you remember where that final tab came in at by chance, or?
So we had started with more of a big study where we wanted with Veerbecker, it was around $10,000 to do the first study, and then we added the market analysis for another $1,500. So, but the first one was a strategy. You know, to do a housing strategy study, like to implementation plan, I can literally just look at the one we did for my previous community and get 90% of what we need to do here. Because it's like, so we are cutting sort of in line, or cutting that completely out. And then the nice thing about Veerbecker, if there is other needs, if there are other things that we want to do, if we do the housing study, it's like, hey, there's a massive hole here. Yes, we can bring them on board to do more. With Mogenberg, I think it would kind of end and not really be as implementation driven or funding driven. So I think all in, we were just over $10,000, $11,000 in my previous community, so.
Just the fear of the additional charges to get us where we need to be, you know, one of those where the sticker price looks good, but all the additions to get us what we really need would be a substantial cost, or if we're talking
It will not, my guess
one
is,
more meeting for $400, it's no big deal, but
I think Veerbecker and myself, we can work this out to be within the realm. And if it approaches north of $10,000, I would be totally shocked ever. Unless we want to go massive, you know, and we could go massive, but then we're talking $25,000. That's likely the number. So this is sort of with CNU, with the additional resources I've been talking about zoning assistance from Ayers and Associates, from technical assistance we got from the Regional Plan Commission. We're piecing this together, you know, in a way that it doesn't cost the $25,000 for a comprehensive housing strategy. So it's not bad.
thank you, Evan.
In the end, what are we gonna find out? If we hire one of these companies, are they gonna, I mean, we know a lot of this information already, how many households we have, how many are rental units, how many are single-family units. We have that information already. To me, they're just gonna tell us, yeah, you have a housing shortage.
One
And
advantage to doing this is it gives us an independent assessment that we could present to developers. Right now, the developer would just have to take our word for it. This is just an independent source saying that the city can support a multifamily house or it can support an apartment complex. So it's an excellent marketing strategy for that aspect.
So developers haven't already looked at Ripon and said there's 30 single-family lots available in, say, in Sanmar, and they just don't want to touch it, or?
So a couple things. And I've had some other conversations with other, with the developers, with real estate agents, marketing land in the community. We are not selling ourselves. We are not.
Right.
Just having a grant that says pay $10,000 to build a house here isn't enough anymore. Things are happening right around us. We need to separate ourselves by having some hardcore data, studying it, looking at it, seeing where our holes are. Yeah, we can sort of, I haven't seen the study. I don't think we've ever done anything like this in a comprehensive format where it says, yep, here is the number of households that are built before 1960, 1950, what does that mean? Okay, well, if in my previous community's case, 70% of our houses were built before, 1960. That means 70% of our housing in the next X amount of years is going to be pretty old. And so you can address programs to that. Some of this stuff, yes, we already make assumptions about the need for housing, but it's not necessarily good enough to just say, hey, we like to have you come here to build. The developers, with the cost of building, they don't want to study it anymore. They want the community to sell themselves in a lot of cases. And I think this puts us in a position where we're able to, talk to realtors, talk to developers and say, here, we feel based on our growth, based on our numbers, that we can support X amount of housing units over the next 5 years. So when we're talking about Sanmar, and the developer out there has been gun shy to do anything, we can go to him and say, we have a report that says we need 10 houses in the next 2 years. Will you build them? Will you work with us to build them? Can we somehow use the TIF district to better incentivize you to build more housing? That's how we use this. Yes.
That's nothing that we can do on our own? I mean, I know $8,500 isn't, in the overall budget, isn't a lot, but it's still a lot of money. That's nothing we can do ourselves?
Do I think we can put together as quality of a report on staff time to come to the same assumptions? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I have 2 reports that will show you. I could bring them right now. What I got in my former community was a 107-page report talking about housing in the community. I could not have done that.
Okay, that's what I needed
Yep.
to hear, or wanted. I wanted an answer, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Fond du Lac County and Envision Greater Fond du Lac is talking about doing similar stuff. Sheboygan County, quite frankly, they did a report. They said they needed 500, in the county, 500 housing units. They're building like crazy, even through this all. And so there's models out there that if you do the work as a community and you tell the story and you have the selling points, people will take it more seriously. And with some of the things that have fallen through, with some of the current assets we have in land and TIF districts, we're on kind of a time crunch here. So, now's the time to sort of, I think, revisit this. And if it goes through, I can't promise that we're going to have developers and all new housing, but at least, for example, housing, market for rents. I was told you can't get more than $1,000 a month in Ripon for rent. Well, okay, is that really, if that's the word out on the street, what developer is going to come here and build? Okay, so having studies and things that say, no, rents can be this amount. Why can they be this amount? Because incomes are this amount, and literally 15 minutes away they're this amount. So I think it's just a way to better understand and address the needs, and hopefully leads to growth. So.
And I guess maybe just to follow that up, ultimately, I mean, I know that this could be another hour-long talk about why growth is important, but just to follow that up, growth and building, it helps many things in our city, including the tax base and different things, correct? I mean, this is going to pay for itself, is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, ideally, yes. I mean, if we have people investing in downtown buildings to do uppers for, for apartments, if we have one, market rate apartment complex go up, this is a minor investment for the long-term benefit of that. I mean, you look at, just follow Zillow or talk to your local realtor, see how many houses there are for sale right now. You can't grow if you don't have anywhere for people to go. And we haven't built, from what I've seen, we've built a decent number of single-family homes. But and this may branch off into discussions about future planning. Where we do grow when we run out of lots. So this will evolve. This is just a mere step, and hopefully, yes, it does pay for itself with, in one TIF district, if 2 houses get built, it pays for itself. So in a matter of 2 years, so.
Any further questions or discussion?
Can we can authorize this tonight, correct?
You choose.
Agendized as such.
I did put a note,
There
yeah.
were 2 competing proposals.
You could make a motion to accept one, or we could bring this back as an action item at the next meeting. It's your choice.
I see no need to bring this back, so with that, I'd make a motion to accept the proposal from Verbiger, pardon me. Okay, for
Say that.
not to exceed $10,000.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Al, seconded by David. Any discussion? John,
That was the one that Adam recommended that was more,
the one that he's worked with before.
I've worked with, they're $1,000 less, they're 7,500.
but they were more, you said more into,
Yeah, and they've done TIF planning with us in the past as a city, so we have a longer past with them. I have a more recent one, but they'll do a nice job, no doubt in my mind.
Any further questions or discussion?
So just to say here, it says it should take place over a 6-month period. So in about 6 months, we should expect the report?
I would hope quicker. I started this in September, we're already 2 months into that. We haven't started anything, but yeah. It takes about that much time, probably. It could be a little less. But.
Any further questions or discussion? All right, see if I can pronounce this name. All right, so the motion on the floor is to accept the proposal from Veerbrecher, not to exceed $10,000. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next discussion item is a review of the outdoor open container and entertainment event permit ordinance. We had an event, was that 3 weeks ago? November 5th. And Chief was nice enough to put a memo together that was in your packet on how it affected the police department. Chief, would you like to give your summary of the event?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have anything else to add other than what's in the memo that I provided to you, but I have not received any separate indications that there was any issues outside of what's in the memo.
All right. Any questions for the chief?
I do have one. Do you see any changes that we could make, something that maybe with a crowd a little less laid back? Any potential problems that where we need to change anything just to tweak the rules, or any weaknesses?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything that would make me question or pause as to the ordinance or an event such as this. So, I really don't have anything to add to that. Obviously, if we get to a point where we're talking about 1,000 people, then we may have to have some discussions, but I think they're doing a nice job in controlling those numbers. I know there've been some revisions on those numbers from previous years. So as it stands right now, if that trend continues, their numbers stay where they're at, and I'm not sure what the planning is for that, but, you know, as it is right now, I don't see any issue. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
It does. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Any comments or discussion? Howard?
As one's business who participated in this past line walk, the crowd was very low-keyed. It was very nice because of the COVID situation not to have, 30, 35 people in your store at one time. They were able to come in and out and move on to the next location, and everybody just really conducted themselves in a good manner. So kudos out to Main Street and the businesses that participated in it to keep that control.
Anyone else? All right. Very good. Moving on. Project updates and staff reports. Chief, you have anything else? I don't. No. Water Department, Public Works. Adam.
I would have liked to have brought the finance manager, assistant city administrator candidate to tonight's meeting, but we had a bit of a hiccup and the finalists withdrew. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board, so hopefully we will have somebody next month. Other than that, working on taxi grants and new contract through the RFP process. So we will have a new contract with, it's the same provider. They had the proposal that was chosen after the RFP process, so that's Brown Cab. So we'll bring that forward after the review period into next month, I believe. And thank you to American Transmission Company. We applied for a tree planting grant, so they just awarded us and gave us a $2,500 check today, so thank you to them. So we have $2,500 for next year to plant more trees, so we'll have to buy more trees, which is good. So that'll help some of replacing some of the ones that fell down. That's all I have.
All right.
I know that there was a report from Public Works, but is this not the time just to remind folks that leaf pickup is now done, right? And what they should do to get rid of their yard debris? Is that appropriate for me to ask at this time?
So leaf pickup did end on Friday. So today we started to tear down one of the vehicles. We still do, as of today, have 2 vehicles out there and picking some hot spots up and some things like that there. So we will take and reduce that number of vehicles to 1 tomorrow, so we can start tearing that one down. So there's no guarantee we'll get to what's out there yet. So the residents can take that stuff to the compost site on Tuesdays and Saturdays till about mid-December. But right now we're gonna run at least 1 truck through the end of the week to try to pick up some stuff out there. We had a very good year in pickup. We rounded each zone 7 to 8 times. Wow. So that's phenomenal for us from what I've seen. Granted, it was more of a steady fall than a dump on the leaves, but they're about right on time to where they are. So we've had very good uptime on the trucks. I think we had 1 down for about 2 days. The 1995 truck went down with some hydraulic issues. We transferred that equipment, the leaf box and all that stuff over to the 1992 truck. And that one's been running flawlessly. So
Knock on wood, no.
so we upgraded to the 92. So things have gone well. We got some hot spots. I noticed downtown we had some stuff in some other areas, and we're kind of going around catching those as best we can.
Thank you.
And Mike, is the compost center going to be open this weekend?
It will be open.
Okay,
Yep,
so if people miss
Saturdays and Tuesdays until about mid-December.
But even on Thanksgiving weekend, it'll be open?
Yep, it'll be open. Yep, 9 to 3:30.
Very good. Thank you. All right, I have no appointments tonight. I will have a couple in December. All I can say tonight is have a happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, stay healthy, be kind and respectful, and enjoy the holiday weekend. Any agenda items or comments from council members? Jolene?
My colleagues in the district here and, of course, our council president and I just wanted to recognize that with what just happened in the city of Wisconsin and Waukesha, our hearts go out to them as we think of them. And obviously, it also makes us think about, too, the emergency workers and how important they are to a city. And so, again, just as the holiday season approaches, as you just said, Mayor, we just want to say also, again, our hearts goes out to that city, and perhaps we can all show our loved ones our gratitude that they're in our lives.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got one. Maybe this is old hat for everybody, but it's new for me. I'd like to talk about ATVs on the city streets.
Okay.
At some point in the future. And I'd like that to be a discussion for, I'd like to hear what the chief had to say when we talk about it. And, anybody listening at home, businesses downtown, I'd like to just hear more input. So.
All right. Anyone else?
So is it a time to clarify, was that a request to put that on the agenda, or was that a request for feedback? What was that?
That would,
But for a discussion item. But I'm just saying, for anybody listening at home, try to come and voice your opinion on that.
Lud, perhaps you should explain the issue regarding table again?
Yeah, we did table.
yes.
Right.
So we'd have to have a motion to bring it off the table. So Jolene's question is right on. That if you want to bring that back, you have to bring it back to the body with a motion from somebody who voted in the prevailing side to reconsider or take it off the table. I think anybody can take it off the table. Let's go with that. Anybody can take it off the table.
Okay, so before it can come on as a discussion item,
You gotta bring it off the table.
I got you. So I would move to take it off the table?
You're gonna do that at the meeting when it's scheduled.
So it would be on as a discussion item. You could move it as to be taken off the table. Someone has to second it,
Gotcha.
and the council has to vote in a majority to take it off the table.
Okay.
But we can put it on an agenda item to do that procedure
And that's what you're seeking.
as a discussion item.
Okay.
Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by David, seconded by Jim. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:43.